Seamless.
Hello.
It works.
Good morning. It lives.
Morning. It lives. Don't call me it. That's a bit. Oh, I have been compared to a clown before now, but not a terrifying one. How are you? Can I just say you're looking lovely? I believe you're trying a new filter, aren't you, for the first time today? What's that?
I did try a new filter, but I think people they appreciate this raw ruggedness.
Yeah, you're a big bear. Let's be absolutely honest in terms of what you are. That's why you're always booked up for Pride, aren't you?
I am the bear that is constantly booked up for Pride. What are we going to do about Pride this year? Pride went bankrupt.
Did it?
Manchester Pride went bankrupt. Yeah.
Go woke, go broke. The far right have been saying that for ages, haven't they? So
bring it back. It's one of the best things about this city in the summer. I've got to tell you.
Yeah, but just like everything else, I loved it. But then as soon as it gets too busy, I just get very bitter and think I'm not going to bother turning up. So. And that's not having our gay watchers. I'm not having that. You know, I'm very appreciative. And I mean, let's be always honest. If I could get into that demographic, I absolutely would do. But I'm too lazy. I'm too messy, which means I couldn't be gay.
Yeah, you do not have a high enough level of personal hygiene to get into that elite group. I'm afraid. I know we're going down stereotypes, but no.
Yeah, wow. I didn't expect you to go for the personal.
Well, I think that's all we need this week. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. We're going for this new brevity angle that you and I have always done so well, aren't we? So how's your weekend going? All right. Anyway, okay at the moment?
Interesting. I am. Have you been keeping up with the, and we'll talk about this in a little bit later, but have you been keeping up with the boys group? Boys to men group.
I saw the boys board was obviously anointed. Yes, so let's have a look. Some good looking people there.
Board. If that was a cheese board that you were presented with, mainly sort of white cheeses, but that's what we've got at the moment.
No, it's a good looking board, Chris looking board.
It's a great looking board. It's a great looking board.
There's some good hair in there, to be fair, isn't there? Yeah,
we'll cover all of that in just a little bit. But what I've been very much encouraged by.
Mintzy, just go back to it a second. Just go back to that thing. Tom McGee is looking like he's kind of accidentally stumbled in on chat roulette there, though, doesn't he?
You know what he looks like? He looks like, they do those vigilante videos on Facebook where they confront a man outside his front door. You've been conspiring to meet with a 7-year-old.
Just to be clear, we have no firm evidence for that whatsoever. So, Tom, do not send your cease and desists. There's no,
not at all. It's a good-looking board. Well, do you know what? We may as well just tackle it whilst we've got it up on the screen. It is. They didn't want to sort of stand accused of the same old faces.
Yeah.
There's a certain element of that because these are very well-known faces, let's face it.
Yeah.
And if you were going to put a board together of the who's who, likely these are the sort of guys that you would choose. They're all, all very prominent in the industry, and I think that's
but as ever. Look, I mean, I won't be getting involved at all there because there's no women on that board, and so. As I said on the post, that's disgraceful in this day and age for a man's board, and it's going to lead to a literal boycott. So that's what I'm going to do.
Can I read you the article that accompanied that, just very briefly?
You will have to, because of course you'll appreciate that it's about me. I saw the story and didn't do any detail.
Okay, well, I'll read you the details. Industry divided as Ben Madden defends bold casting choices in A-Team reboot. Concerns raised over tone, optics, and LinkedIn judgment as sector debates authenticity. The UK property industry has found itself unexpectedly embroiled in a cultural debate this week, following confirmation that Tom McGee will play Howling Mad Murdoch in Ben Madden's long-rumoured reboot of the A-Team. The announcement shared quietly on LinkedIn before being aggressively screenshot into multiple WhatsApp groups was described by one senior agent as brave and by another as something that shouldn't have stayed in drafts. However, it was a follow-up comment relating to Chris Webb's preparation for the role of B.A. Baracus, that sparked wider concern, with industry figures accusing the production of confusing authenticity with common sense.
Wow. What a
So,
powerful.
I guess what we're saying is Chris Webb cannot black up to play the role of B.A. Baracus.
I don't think. Yes, I think we should keep that in the kerfuffle world. We're edgy enough to be able to get away with that, ironically and satirically, but no one else can.
No one else. Right.
Brave decision. But I always like that. Yes, Prime Minister. If you're going to put somebody off, don't you just say, "Oh, can I just yes, approve that very brave decision you've made there."
Talking brave decisions, in politics this week, and I will pop this up on here.
Yeah.
This caught your fancy, didn't it, Whaley?
I did. I thought I mean, he's so obsessed with it. Did you see his angle that he said he repeated so many times? He should have got a Nobel Peace Prize for every one of the 8 wars he's put out. This is the week after he's invaded. He's invaded, obviously, Venezuela, and he's obviously, holding a gun to Greenland's head. He's honestly, he's magical. Sorry, actually, I told you that though, didn't I? This has not a president, but it has a precedent. Do you know that somebody else did present their Nobel Peace Prize previously to somebody else? Can you guess who it is?
I could not get this. Now, you gave me a chance to guess this before we came on the show, so I'm not going to fake it because I'm not that good an actor.
It is amazing. In 1943, during the German occupation of Norway, Norwegian author Knut Hamsun gave his Nobel Peace Prize to, drumroll, Joseph Goebbels.
Wow.
Propaganda as a gesture of political loyalty. Wow, that's something special.
There you have it. What? So what do you reckon's going on in this picture, other than somebody trying to buy their own presidency of Venezuela? What do you reckon?
Well, apart from the fact that those garish, the garish decoration looks like it should be in Weatherspoons. It's a pure and simple bribe, isn't it? But that's kind of how you get his attention.
And so the internet does what the internet does, and you have a proliferation of memes of famous people presenting their awards back to Donald Trump.
Arnold Rimmers,
Arnold Rimmers
certificate, lovely stuff.
Certificate. You've got Gollum here, and
the one ring.
I have to say, Elijah Wood looking good as a woman over there.
I tell you what, it's confusing, that, isn't it?
That has actually thrown me a little bit.
Yeah.
First man on the moon.
I know that AI gets a lot of grief, but this is
where it comes into its own.
This is amazing.
Obviously, that very famous scene at the end of Star Wars, where they're picking up their medals.
By the way, the irony is as if he'd be on the rebellion side.
And we couldn't let this pass without a property industry version of this. So here is Michelle Gallagher presenting her EA Masters back to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me whilst I was sort of designing this that I didn't have Michelle's permission, so I'm sorry, love. But secondly, where had I seen something similar before? And then it hit me. Simon Whale. Always trying to steal other people's awards.
That was bad, actually. I refused. As she ran up to the stage that day, my recollection was I almost rugby tackled her. You know what? My standard line is I love to hold on to the coattails of success, and I think that's what we're seeing there. And my God, that's a reason for Monjaro to. Maybe that was what inspired the fat jab people to create it.
I'll take that down. More of that to come.
Good. More AI.
What he gets up to this week. So this week is our special episode where we tackle the press. Yeah. And I think I called you midweek and I said to you, Whaley, what I'd like to do is to prepare a little game for you, which was, let's see what we can do. And so the internet does what the internet does. And you have a proliferation of memes of famous people presenting their awards back to Donald Trump. And it occurred to me whilst I was sort of designing this that I'm going to present you with real headlines. I'm going to present you with fake headlines, and I want you to see if you can work out which one's which. And whilst I was in the process of doing that, I thought, well, this is where ChatGPT comes into its own. So instead, I designed a GPT, a custom GPT, now available to everybody, to allow you to do that. So I'm going to bring that up now.
First of all, I had no idea you had that level of technical skill. So that's very. Does Kerfuffle own the IP on that?
Yeah, you do actually. It's actually credited to SM Whale. Don't know if you can see here at the top.
Okay, so I'll lie, brilliant. So talk us through it then.
So I'll lie, very interesting. So basically, it's much easier to do than you think. So there is so you can build yourself a custom GPT, and here I wanted to do something that will either you can input whatever you want, whatever subject you want, and get it to come up with a property industry eye and others. I mean, there are other publications, the Negotiator, there's a State Agent Today, and so on. Basically, a trade press take on the news that you're putting in there, or you can get it to come up with a random parody. So
I can't wait to see what sort of prompts you put in there to try.
If we just, I'm now just clicked on surprise me with a random parody.
Yeah.
And if it does its thing,
please don't
please don't crash now. Come on. Oh, here we go.
What's that?
Industry calls landmark reset after estate agents agreed to stop saying unprecedented for an entire afternoon. And if you read through this, it comes out with fake quotes from fake, like they've got move-based analytics here, and the National Guild of Progressive Property Professionals.
What's an acronym? What's that? So the NGPPP? That's like the big of Judea, isn't it?
You're going to go and register that now, aren't you? But likewise, you could put in here, so at the bottom, Property Mark, CEO, Nathan Emerson.
Yeah. And then it what? Just takes it off and does it?
Invades Venezuela. let's just throw that at it and see what it does.
You know what? You're much braver than me about, Mintzy. There's no way I would show my ChatGPT with all the prompts showing down the left-hand side. That would
Property Mark CEO invades Venezuela with bold mission to explore best practice, lanyards, and mild concern. Trade body insists trip is purely symbolic, despite reports of laminated guidance notes and a cautiously optimistic breakfast briefing. But it's brilliant. This is not an invasion, said a Property Mark spokesperson, visibly saying it's a listening exercise, albeit one that begins with a keynote, followed by a panel, and then a call for clarity. And I guess what I'm trying to say with this is it's so easy to parody our press.
Yeah.
Because, ChatGPT can do it with just a little bit of prompting.
Yeah.
Anybody now can use that, by the way. You can log in, you can put your own topics in there, you can test it, you can ask it to surprise you.
So how do you do that, Min? So you just log into ChatGPT, go to the
I will provide everybody with the link, but basically, it allows everybody to just log in there.
Hang on a minute. So Kerfuffle's stated claim is making sense of the noise, cutting through the noise and everything else. And we are now officially purveyors of fake news.
Completely. But it's done to prove a point, and the point is this, and this is where we'll start our discussion, and we'll take it from there. We all know that trade press exists for a reason. It's there to, I suppose, spark awareness within a very closed sector and industry, which is what we are. We're very, very small. I've started doing my Donald Trump hands. We're very, very small, very big. Some people say, but we are. What are we, about 16? Is it about 16,000 brands and so on altogether?
Yeah, 20,000 offices, 20,000.
Okay, so not a huge industry by anybody's stretch of the imagination. Yet we need to have our own trade press. What is that trade press there for? So is it there to act as an echo chamber where basically we say, listen, Mr. Trade Press, we're playing nice with you. We're taking some advertising with you. We'd like you to put some messaging out there that suits us. Or is it something that can realistically hold us to account? Is it genuine news? And I think you probably know the answer to that. But we discussed this last week. You've got some very nuanced views. Has this podcast become a mashup of Laura Gunsberg 3, 2, 1? Our very own Dusty Ben.
There you are. He'd love that. I'll tell you what, just before we go into it, and I think it's a classic example actually of, where it is. Did you see the top story actually, I think in the Negotiator this week, was that they are launching essentially a version of Dragon's Den. And let me just read it you out here. So what is it? It's going to go on Amazon. So Dragon's Den for the property world seeks applicants. Amazon is calling for applications of a property investment show with participants pitching residential, commercial and mixed-use schemes to angel investors in a Dragon's Den style format with funding decisions made live during filming. The latest series of Amazon Prime's Property Elevator is scheduled to air in autumn 26. And it's filmed at the same studios used for Dragon's Den and will feature a panel of angel investors who will decide whether to back projects based on commercial viability, delivery capability, and execution risk. So I thought that's applications closed 6th of Feb, so get in there. Filming date 17th of and the 19th of February.
Do you get the impression that is that tech ideas? Is that innovation? Or is that
we've spoken about this for ages. We were talking to our good mates over at PVS about it, weren't we? The idea of whether I went egotistical and went Wales Den or whatever else, but that idea to get a few prop techs together and obviously get people, challenging the ideas, and if they wanted to get involved. I
remember this now. It wasn't Wales Den. You were brainstorming a name, and we came up with Wales Blowhole, and then we decided that would be censored. It wouldn't be allowed online, so I'm afraid we had to cancel the show.
Where I was going with that, first of all, that's quite a nice, interesting idea, but that is a classic example there of what I think the role of, it is done, because we've been very unfair over the years, haven't we, and said, top story is estate agent opens second office in Crewe or something like that.
Yeah.
But, that's... as you said before, this industry is everything to us and to the agents, but it's so small in comparison, even to other B2B industries, isn't it? So how do you balance that act? And if you're going to go down the pure journalistic, dare I say it, sting approach that, let's say the tabloids would do or something else, you're going to be persona non grata in double quick time, aren't you? Because you need these people to keep coming, unless you're going to do a full hatchet effect.
So that's the thing. It's the commercial reality of this industry and look, I think it's something that you and I, certainly I have. I think you balance it much better than me. I tend to be a bit more edgy when I need to be, but you have to think about your commercial paymasters sometimes when you're giving your views. So are we ever completely blunt and truthful? And as much as people might mock this particular podcast for being a little bit irreverent, it does have grains of truth that we're not afraid to sprinkle out there from time to time. But the thing is, do you say what you see, or do you sort of say, actually, I might need to do business with these people, or as one person warned me about 6 months ago, somebody called me, who shall remain nameless, but he said to me, listen, you want to watch what you say about a certain individual. They're extremely powerful in this industry, and they could end your career. And that was quite a threat. So answers on a postcard if you can guess who that influential person is.
Let's start the voting going for this shady character trying to. So you've got a super injunction against you now.
Effectively, somebody sort of said, "Look, stop it, Mintzy. You get far too close to the truth here."
Well, that makes you deep throat as well, which is wonderful. I've always said that. You're very good at that.
We started with Manchester Pride. We're ending with deep throat. It couldn't go any better.
Again, bouncing around our normal two fingers to the two Russells. You don't do this level of stuff.
Graham Wilson said, Susanna. To be honest, Susanna is mightily powerful at Kerfuffle. Shall I very occasionally take you to one side and say, you do know Simon doesn't think that you should be doing this, and what it means is Susanna doesn't think I should be doing it. That's really
I love the idea that there's an ecosystem of like power games out there politically. Game of Homes, as I've always said. That's it, morning, Rhiannon. Yeah.
Every company has one, and they should definitely get a Susanna.
But going back to what you're just saying there, is we'll think about, well, first of all, it's bloody expensive to do, so going out there and getting, journalists and everything else and editors, it does cost. So here's where the challenge has always come for every B2B industry is if the audience, aka the agents, don't pay any money for it, all of the commercial reality then comes from, realistically, doesn't it, the suppliers who are
on
paying
the advertising, correct?
So that's very difficult. If you don't have to go down the kind of biased conspiracy theory routes there. You have
to a certain extent that becomes at first you pay, so you become part of the crowd because you're paying the provider to push out whatever it is, press releases or news or promotions dressed up as news, whatever that may be. But eventually, what we tend to see with our press, I would argue, is that there are certain names that can get their pieces inserted into the press more easily than others, even without paying, because eventually they become this kind of, we joked about the same people on the same board, perhaps at the top of the thing. There are very similar-ish characters floating around the top of the industry who I would argue could put something into property industry. And you're one of them, actually, Whaley. You could pop something into property industry tomorrow, likely get covered.
Maybe not tomorrow, depending on how this goes.
No, but do you know what I mean? So I think, and rightly so, because if I was running the industry press, I would say, yes, well, I would want to hear from Verona Frankish or Kirsty Franks or from Ben Madden or from Christopher Watkin or from Mike Day or from Chris Webb or from, I can go on and on. We could play this game forever.
Lots of thought leaders, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't want to discount their entries. On the other hand, how do you then do that whilst also encouraging, other people to step up, other names that you've not heard, and for every sort of main agent that gets a lot of limelight, there's an Adrian Napper out there. Morning, Adrian. Office and crew. I love Adrian. He turns up to all our conferences.
He's ace, isn't he? Lovely.
He's amazing. I remember talking to Adrian during lockdown, encouraging him to do some video content, and now he does such amazing community video content.
Really, when we started off the year talking about this beige industry, Adrian is about as unbeige as they come, isn't it? He's got a really good sense of humor about it. But let me ask you guys there, we've got a few agents out there now watching it, and from with your agent hat on, David, what is the role of the press for you? What do you get? Because I've got a theory. I've got a theory going back to it that, we talk about how there's a big long tail of agents. What is it? Over 70% of agents are 1 and 2 offices there. Unless they're lucky enough to be part of the, I can't remember what the acronym was earlier, but the Guild of Agents or Relocation Agent Network, where they can share ideas. I would suggest that the vast majority of agents get a lot of their, especially things like prop tech news and things like that and updates, really solely from the trade press, the big three. And I think that is a really important, and call it a service. But what do you think? What do you want?
Can I give you Mintzy's personal wish for the trade press? I am not like I said, I'm not unalive to the commercial realities of this life. So I get that, and I play that game better than anybody. But I think there is space in and amongst all of the kind of good news pieces, and the agent acquires another agent in small town that you've never heard, or even Lomond takes over the world, whatever it is. And the other opinion pieces that you see in there that effectively are very nice, but they're not necessarily groundbreaking or controversial. I can take all of that for 99 90% of the week, as long as you will always in your publication have one column a week that is genuine investigative journalism in a subject that matters to our industry. That we can actually therefore say, look, yes, we've got commercial nouns, but we've actually got a little bit of teeth, because when we find a story that really overrides all of those commercial interests, we do it. And I think, you know, who did that so well, Ros Renshaw. You cannot talk about industry press without talking about Ros's legacy almost. And you'll remember a lunch that you had with her.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Where, you know, what you think what happens at lunch stays at lunch, and you know, you might have a couple of drinks, as you want to do from time to time. But Ros was absolutely recording up there.
She was absolutely. So I thought, you know, this wonderful. I'm not being demeaning in any way, but this little old lady. So I thought, back in the day, I can handle my booze. So I want to obviously get across the, you know, obviously at the time I was back at Reaping. So I thought, okay, well, I'll get across our side of things, and we'll, you know, famously you do have to, you know, get close to the press and the editors, and to you know, so that they will pay attention to the stuff. So I thought, okay, well, I'll put across this stuff. Anyway, I thought, you know, get a couple of bottles inside and everything else. And obviously I went off my own particular path. And as you just highlighted there, I really have no recollection of this. And I went back to her, and she came back to me the next day with about 3 or 4. Can I get your full quote on this? And I said, well, obviously it was off record. And she said, oh no, you didn't say it was off record. I was like, oh my God, I've been stitched up.
But Ros, I mean, as Christian says, you know, Ros was epic, and it hasn't been the same since she left. Whaley lunch, couple of drinks. What universe has I woken up in? Yeah, what could go wrong? There are some comments here that we're gonna look at. So we heard from Adrian. Really nice to see and hear from Adrian. Sophie Lang, one of my favorite property industry economists. So she's in there fairly regularly, and it's nice to see more female representation as well. I hate to push it down that route, but it's there. It is based on
David. I think on that, I think the one area of the industry that really doesn't struggle from that is the trade press. There seems to be a really good balance of.
You tended to find that you're right. We do cover. They're not afraid to cover those sort of things. But I think when it comes to things like opinion pieces and columns, it tended to be a bit of a sausage fest. A very pale sausage fest, but it's fine. Look, it's fine. We are making progress. It is, you know, but Sophie has got more to say than most, and she has a lot of value to add. So, regardless of what. So here we go. It is based on click-throughs. Who do people trust and want to hear from? I personally like to try and give value when I write articles. I want to give people something they find interesting. I'm definitely not selling anything, and that's true. She's got absolutely nothing to gain. But it's likely to be a good profile builder. Mr. Byfield, it's paid for by suppliers, read by agents, can't buy the hand that feeds them, but could do more punchy journalism around agency and the overall landscape.
True enough.
Soph is back in the comments again. I do go to the press for genuine news. I don't necessarily want market trends. As an agent, I should already know these, but I do find prop tech and acquisitions interesting as it impacts my business and our industry. She likes keeping up with the acquisitions news because she's in most of them.
I was going to say they're doing
taking over the world one Cornish pasty at a time. And where there's the Lang, there's the Llewellyn.
Yeah.
Spam emails in my inbox every day. That's also true. Apart from Sophie's articles. So, you know, that's the other reality of it, is that readership. You need readership for these websites because they do have what we refer to as the soulless email, but basically there's the main email that pops up in your inbox every day that says, hey, this is today's headlines, please come and read it. And then there's the other emails that you get from time to time that says, this is this fantastic new product from such and such a supplier. This is a training course that we think you should go on, etc. So there is a little bit of commercial selling going on alongside the news. So it depends on the trade press. Have a look at some of the regular contributors, lots of men. Adrian, to be honest, PR is the best way to get your message out. My biggest theory, if people do not know about you, how do you expect them to buy from you? Comes down to you're buying from people.
Well, that's a really interesting angle, isn't it? And it's one that we come across a lot, isn't it? That suppliers do still, for all of this time, as Christian and we've been talking about quite rightly, highlights that the revenue model is around suppliers. There's a very real frustration from the suppliers that actually they don't get, their great story included in there. And this is where I do think that actually we need to be very clear and honest with our supplier partners, because we see it ourselves, don't you? Is that yes, they have those soulless email databases, and I think between the big three, it's about 80,000 emails. Obviously, a lot of those will be duplicated or even triplicated there, but that's a great, a brilliant route to market, because if you think about it, is every supplier suffers from obviously people unsubscribing from their own database and soulless emails. Most of those, the trade press won't get people unsubscribing because people still want to get the news, so it's quite protective in that respect, isn't it? But you and I talk about it when we get certain suppliers who shall remain nameless and are the usual suspects. The quality of some of the stuff they send through is appalling, isn't it?
I've always wanted to talk about this. Thank you for allowing me this segue. Sometimes, this is a secret. Sometimes suppliers, we do this whole thing where we forgive them for making a mistake of judging between B2C and B2B, and they don't really know who they're pitching at. That's bollocks. We're too small an industry to sort of say there's a separation between B2C and B2B. I would like you to sort of get it into your head that if you're putting out news or you're putting out press releases, bear in mind that yes, your first audience is the agent. Yeah. But it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to their client. So the client, when the client reads it, they need to understand. So if I have got Whaley's latest product, what's your latest prop tech product? Make it up.
Unisu.
Random.
Unisu.
What? Unisu. So if I'm using Unisu as an agent, and you're putting out there some sort of press release saying David's using this and this is the advantage that it's going to give his business, make sure that advantage that it gives the business is not at odds with what his public wants to see. So my customers, when they see that I'm using Unisu, do they appreciate that it adds value for them? And I think, so there's two things here. Number one is not all suppliers are great at marketing. And not all suppliers are great at PR and news. And I think that we can get a lot better at it. And there are outlets, obviously, that can help you with both. But you need to be mindful of who the audience is, and also the fact that it's such a small little industry that it can overspill into that B2C sector very, very easily. If it's not helpful for B2C, I'm not promoting it as an agent as B2B.
This is where the value of somebody, and I'm honestly, I feel myself gagging, but somebody like obviously a Russell Quirk, that's genuinely where that extra value comes back, isn't it? Where it will bounce. Do you remember the story? I can't
clip this bit where he talks about gagging on Russell Quirk.
That'd be gold. So do you remember there was a story going back ages ago, and it was a tiny little story that Moneypenny did, but as you said, it made that hot skip and a jump into the wider world. Got picked up by the BBC, got picked up internationally, and it genuinely became a viral sensation. Of course, that is worth its absolute weight of gold, and that's where I think Russell understanding and the PR companies, propaganda and that value of what does the consumer want, where is it likely to hit that interest? Because last week we said, when we did the review actually of the biggest stories of last year, and some of them went into literally tens of thousands and more click-throughs, it was clearly those stories where it then suddenly bounced out into consumers, landlords clicking on stuff. There was quite
that whole thing about Rachel Reeves, wasn't it? That people were intensely interested about. I think that's where the Venn diagram between our world, property world, and real world sort of cross over. That's always very interesting.
That's a shit analogy, Mintzy. You've got to go Ghostbusters. Don't cross the streams. Don't talk Venn diagrams.
We'll talk about crossing streams and crossing swords in a minute. Samantha, an EXP superstar royalty, joins us this morning. Yeah. Thank you for the shout out last week whilst discussing the self-employed world. I attended the estate agents dinner with the Baldock brothers on Thursday. It was so nice to be surrounded by many influential industry leaders without being sold to. Awesome podcast. So that is a theme, isn't it? That people do feel sold to, whether you like it or not, either through the press or through conferences. But Samantha was on stage at the Kerfuffle conference last year, so she obviously wasn't selling to anybody then. But the point is, there is that delicate balance. She's entirely right.
Well, I was just going to say, to do my Rupert Murdoch, take down her comments straight away, because, of course, the minute you start talking about that Baldock's evening, that I've tried 3 different disguises to be allowed in there, of course, and I've been blackballed. If you
my friend, Mr. Watkin, here we go. I'm wearing your T-shirt, Mr. Watkin, not as influential as Christopher Watkin. Chris Watkin. Sorry?
Spelt his name wrong. It's Watkins.
Watkins, exactly. Create great, interesting, educational, entertaining content for the audience. Yeah. My question to Christopher Watkin is, and I know we differ on this, and this is why I think that those articles on subjects such as Rachel Reeve, for instance, do actually spill out into the public, because I think that's of genuine interest. When we, Sophie mentioned stats, statistics, and so on. Chris is a great purveyor of statistics. He is the industry stato. A lot of his content that agents push out relate to market industry stats of their town. So Chris is absolutely right. If you can get Grantham or wherever you happen to live into the headline, that is what draws the eye of the vendor. But my question is, how interested are people in stats? Have we now become actually immune to statistics, because that's what a lot of the kind of publications push out? Do we see too much of it? Does it have context? Does it have meaning to me as a homeowner? It's just, there's no right or wrong answer.
What was interesting there was Sophie's comment earlier, because, of course, from my point of view, and I suppose this is horses for courses and, different audiences, but I genuinely really get a lot of value from, from those more data-led elements and everything else, and seeing Chris's, you turning data into actionable information and really interesting information, I think is absolute gold dust, to be honest. But it's interesting that actually she thinks that potentially that, that isn't as interesting.
I've always said that I get there is a local agent here, shall remain nameless. In fact, they're not even that local. They're probably about 6 postcodes over, but they target this area where I live. And as an estate agent, I love getting those touting letters through the door, because I like to critique them. But every now and again, I get one which is literally, it's an envelope that is just bursting at the seams. It's full of wadges of paper. I wish it was full of £5 notes, but when I open it, it's probably about 27 sides of A4. Yeah. And it is a very long love letter, and it's basically, dear homeowner, this is what's been happening in your area, and it goes into such granular detail with the statistics.
And is that one of Chris's? Because Chris does that service, isn't it?
I don't know if it's one of Chris's. I'd be very surprised if Chris thinks that the average homeowner is going to still be reading after 27 pages. But I just thought, it doesn't particularly have a call to action. It's just full of stats. It's full of, this is how many viewings have happened, and this is why, this is what's happened to the market lending rates. And I get it. For us who work in the industry, that's the sort of news, we all rush to put out a little video after every time the Chancellor announces something, or there's the Bank of England holds rates at the same amount. What does that mean for local homeowners in Prestwich and all that sort of stuff? It's good, but and we think it matters, I think, a lot more than it actually does.
So just on that, do you think one of the challenges are maybe the maybe the difficulty of remaining relevant in the trade press these ways. And it is true of why, in the wider world, famously newspaper, sales rates have cratered, haven't they? Because we can get so much information. And as you know, I'll give you a little shout out just for once. Your Substack emails that you're doing are really, really good there. But of course, there are so many ones. So you mentioned it before, actually. It's very few. Why a lot of the suppliers are so crap is because actually, just like with agency, lots of them are very small businesses. They don't have the ability to have marketing managers or resource, do they? The likes of Good Lord, which are, hugely impressive, go into a lot of detail around stuff. They are in an absolute minority, aren't they, there? Whereas we've got now more and more people out there, though, going for guerrilla kind of marketing like you are doing with your Substack stuff, and subscribe if you can do.
I think what I would say there is that actually what I've noticed in with the suppliers is that there are some of those that employ very professional marketing managers who come to the fore with great experience that they've learned elsewhere, and maybe marketing degrees. And what they fail to understand is the mindset of both the agent and also the agent's public. You have to understand that people selling or letting their houses, if you're letting your house, you care immensely about your security as a landlord. Like, where's my money going? Is the agent going to be safe with it? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be liable if this thing burns down overnight? All those sort of worries that a landlord has. As a seller, how much can I get for my primary asset? How quickly can I do it? And can I reduce the stress levels on it? Those are the things that matter. All the other airy-fairy nonsense that we talk about are very, very, very much secondary to all the information that we're pushing out there. So we need to kind of bring that back into our view every time we're planning things.
Well, as Chris says here, David, so he's talking about why aren't suppliers good at marketing? What's the excuse? I think Chris, who is a marketer, find him on LinkedIn. He's a good mate and a good lad at that type of things. And I've had conversations with Chris because Chris works outside of industry as well, and he's looked at the travel industry and everything else. And we've spoke about the peculiarities, because every single vertical industry does have its own kind of uniqueness around it there. And I think that's the nature of a trade press, isn't it? Is to be insular, and as you're talking about. And then Chris goes back on here to say, where does he say here? 95% of trade press releases are thinly disguised advertisers. No wonder they don't work. The only thing I would say is, we and everybody always talks about how brilliant street groups, marketing is, isn't it? And they unashamedly, they are leading with thought leadership, but they're also very promotional about what they're doing. But they do it in a very, I've always kind of highlighted Apple-esque style, don't they? And so you can, if you do it right and you do the quality, you can still have your cake and eat it, can't you? In terms of being interesting and education.
Shameless plug here, but I think this is something that you are going to see us advertise or talk a lot more of in the future. Last year, I was approached by a supplier, a very well-known supplier, who have teams that are based abroad and also locally. Yeah. And all of the members of that team never necessarily worked in the property industry before, but great marketeers, great customer service. All they needed was the property insight. And I ran a training course for that supplier to take them through the day-to-day life of an agent, to explain to them the challenges that a common sort of a common market estate agent will experience in the UK, to explain to them a little bit about the marketplace, the public, what they want to see as well. And I think there is a role for us to, you cannot just wake up one morning with all of that knowledge in your head. And I don't expect any of you to just drop your jobs as marketeers and go out and become estate agents to learn, to deep dive and learn how to do the job and how to speak their language. But we can train you to do it. I think we can train you to do it. That actually proved it. Let's have a look at some of the other comments, because there's loads of them.
I was just about to say, this one's an absolute.
Can I pivot you boys? Always, Christian. You know that. You don't even need to ask. Just go for it. Russell Jarvis posted on LinkedIn the other day on a client who mandated that they won't hire women, as Rainer they declined the business. But is that enough? in the face of such blatant misogyny? Shouldn't businesses like that be named and shamed or quietly reported to the relevant authorities? Allyship is all well and good, but treading gently won't tackle these epic dinosaurs. Wow.
Well, that's really difficult because, of course, I told that to Russell in strictest confidence.
we don't want anybody getting themselves knocked up. But that's so if you know what, that is the reason. So that is the reason. Let's just go back to this. The main reason that people will not employ women, or whether they have an overt policy where they've told that to a recruiter or not, the reason is that they are worried that women of a certain age will choose to go off and start families, etc., etc. Why else would that be? Why else could it be? Given that most of the women I've ever worked with are far more effective than I've ever been, why would you not employ them? Why would you not employ? I think that one was for you guys at the Women in Estate Agents.
Yeah, first of all, as well, that does show that there's a classic shout out in terms of, we were talking about that investigative journalism or that Ros Rentral style one there. Having a story like that a week, whether I think it'd be difficult to name and shame because you'd probably get into a whole thing. But what would be fascinating there is if a journalist then got wind of that. They spoke to Russell and said, "Is it okay to approach them?" and then got a statement from them. I think that would be, without a shadow of a doubt, the most viewed story of the week.
I think Russell obviously putting that out there into the public domain goes about halfway into doing that, and I think he's probably done as much as he can do. What he's done is he's called out that potential client online. He's not named and shamed because I think legally he couldn't anyway. And he's basically stated his company's values, that I will not deal with a client, I will not place a position where you are discriminating. Not least that it's unethical, it's against the law, it is illegal.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid, though. Isn't it? I mean, that's it. If you come back to every little angle about it, I mean, it's like, what century are you in? But anyway,
Adrian Napper, people fail with PR on social media because they put one message out. For it to work, it needs to be often and regular, not just sales, but not for sales, but for recognition. Very true. Yeah. Never a true word said. Mr. Dobrin. Shalom, my friend. Good morning. Hope you're having a nice bagel or whatever you guys do on a Sunday morning.
You guys.
I can say that. I can say that. So multicultural, this show.
I do that. An anti-Semite whale gets
anti-Semite criticised by the Board of Deputies. Simon Whale.
We'll go down halal food. That's the one of the far right at the moment, isn't it?
Right, Christopher Watkin. When someone finds out you're an estate agent at the party, they always ask the same question: how's the market? Yes, they do. They always ask that. What they want to know is that the market, generally speaking, is good, it's bad, it's got opportunities, it hasn't, things are slow. Whatever it is about the market, they're concerned about the price of their house. They don't want my answer to be, yes. Well, interestingly enough, 19.7% of all home movers this week that registered were first-time buyers, and we've sold a total of 1,233 houses in the last quarter of last year. That stuff is not party fodder.
No, do you think it works in other industries? You're talking to an undertaker at a party. It's like, is business good? Is it? Yeah, it's great. Look, it's a flu epidemic. Lots of people are dying. Couldn't be happier. Proctologists. What was your best?
Can I just tell you? Although we generally make the coffins one size to fit all, 99% of the people are under 6 foot. That's just. I'm just telling you.
And bamboo is a real top seller because of the whole net zero thing at the moment.
Can you imagine Dataloff coming out with little pictorial designs that sort of says, did you know your hair continues to grow after you die? Well, it doesn't actually in brackets. It's just that your skin is receding.
Yeah, you carry
all of those interesting
I tell you what, if this isn't a shout out to your Pi or I ChatGPT tool, I don't know what is. We're going to have to go on that later.
Brilliant. From the sublime to the ridiculous. Here we go. Soph, I don't get a lot from stats in the local area. I get more traction from sentiment and community-led stuff. So I think that is.
Sophie, just on that, and I keep again. I repeat. Mr. Watkins endlessly about his whole digital mayor angle, and I think that's such a much more interesting angle that Sophie highlights there. Is if you do spend the time and you get the sentiment and that community angle there, that's the stuff that on a local basis, at least for your client base and demographic, is going to be catnip, isn't it?
Here we go, Mr. Watkin. Agree. Stats by themselves are dull. So I agree with David. It's all about talking about the property market and using the stats to back that up, which I believe is everybody's interested in, because everyone's interested in the value of their own home. I think that's also true. Sophie then goes on to say, for local people, they need to sell. And when they need to sell, usually because of a life event, they don't look at the stats and decide to sell based on that. It does demonstrate your knowledge, but I don't think it has the impact that is intended, which I think is probably true as well. Chris Perkins, the end user isn't interested in what agents are interested in. The key to all of this is understanding the customer need. The agents and the suppliers aren't doing that. Okay, fair enough.
I'll tell you what's true there, isn't it? You know, we've been talking about this not just from this marketing point of view or from a trade press point of view, but those suppliers that obsess about just impressing the business owners. Whereas we keep making the point that almost forget about that. If Rightmove, you know, famously has said that they don't worry about the agent, that's not true, of course. But what they do know is if you deliver for the consumer, actually everyone else follows anyway. And I think we far too
right. Do you know what that is? That's your keynote lecture today. That is the be all and end all. Rightmove do this better, and it's why they frustrate so many agents. They're an amazing marketing resource in terms of the fact that it is the biggest shop window to the world. End of story. You could say that it doesn't innovate enough, it's not changed enough. It doesn't need to, because people are still buying the cakes in the window all the time. But the point is, what they do so well, and the reason why that we as an industry don't necessarily have a voice that's particularly relevant to them, is that the end user, they're a great classic example where they've managed to get through to the actual end user, the member of the public, and the member of the public thinks that Rightmove is the place to start your home search. Because
here's the thing, their content, if you want to call that, is absolutely dynamic and up to date by default, because obviously all the property shit in the marketplace and everything else is literally the most up to date it can possibly be.
It's really interesting. You know, we talk about know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
The public, for better or for worse, trust Rightmove. They trust that when they log on there, the majority of all the listings in the marketplace are going to be there. Somebody just walked past your screen.
George has just come in, and this is impressive. He's come in to find his work for his revision. You all right, George? You okay?
Oh, we did.
Mintzy.
Hi, Mintzy.
Morning, Georgie boy. Is it GCSE revision? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, it's his second or third year of retakes at the moment. He's 19, you know, now.
He's not. But that's the key. I think, you know, just like Hoover became, you know, the go-to name for buying a vacuum cleaner, Rightmove is that go-to name for starting your home search. And the public trust it. The public don't have any feelings, you know, for or against it. You might not like their app. You might prefer to go on to Zoopla, which tries to sort of tell you other things about the property. The point is, Rightmove is the number one.
Yeah, watch it. And look, you know, we've got the built on trust angle for our conference as well, isn't it? We were talking about that the other day, isn't it? There's many forms of trust and everything else there, but that trust that the public have in them is something we need to explore, isn't it? Because they're, you know, to have that element is really important.
Rhiannon, I suppose it's jumping on trending news to gain traction on your socials. Absolutely. Trending news, local news, national news that you think will rhyme with your public. A lot of suppliers, this is Christian again, a lot of suppliers are incapable of conveying their product and benefits in an elevator pitch. If you can't do that, you won't be able to convey it in an advert. Simple. I'm smiling as I read that because famously, Christian and I had to bin off an entire webinar where his elevator pitch went it went out the window, man. And you know, we can be, but that he's a great example of somebody that is so passionate about their product, and he, you know, sweats every hour of development on that thing. So when he explains to you that the Reaper integration is great because they've tested it with the biggest, you know, you can see that he's lived through that and it matters to him. It's whether or not that then again matters to somebody who doesn't know who Reaper are, who doesn't know who Christian is, and how much time he's invested into the product.
It's famously PropTech 3.0, as I definitely christened it. You know, agents doing it for themselves, isn't it? And I think that's the other exciting angle is, you know, that concept of agents having to solve the perceived issues out there, you know, because they now have access to tech in a way that is better than. Oh my God!
Shut up, dog. So the random LinkedIn user, sorry, but sometimes it doesn't bring the names forward. So if you can identify yourself,
maybe it's somebody called LinkedIn user.
It might be. I'm sure that's very rare nowadays. I think they're talking about the Russell Jarvis story there. Nowadays, biggest issue is employers are worrying about anyone leaving to do it themselves today. I think meaning go self-employed, possibly. And I think that is another show. Maybe we're setting up next week's topic is the big self-employed debate. Do they jump? Are they pushed? Are you worried about nurturing talent in your business these days for them to only to go self-employed? Are you going to see the writing on the wall and think actually self-employed is the future of this industry, and therefore I'm going to jump together with them? So I'm going to take my agency, I'm going to make it a self-employed model so that I don't fall foul of this. Where are you on that debate? It's very, very
models. I've had a couple of conversations this week with traditional agents that are obviously looking at potentially going down this route. And I think Ian White has famously always spoken about, and I think Ian Preston as well, going back to it, is talking about, well, obviously, if you don't present, or at least this is the view of some of them, the independent agents, if you don't provide them with that ability to, you know, have that personal agent approach, do you risk them obviously leaving the business anyway? So I think that is quite an interesting angle there. But I think loads of them don't know where to get started, don't they? And you've got so many different choices now with talk, obviously, is exploding, obviously, like never before, and going for those traditional agents that we were talking about, they're able to convert across. So yeah, I think there's a bit to be gone on there.
I think there's a whole show and a half on that. I think the self-employed model is something that's very interesting, because I would also argue that in and amongst all this talk about self-employed, we leave out the elephant in the room, which is this isn't new, guys. This is effectively a franchise at a much more affordable level. Yeah. So we've all, you know, franchises have existed for a long, long time. It's empowered certain people to get.
We could throw in a quite interesting angle on it as well, though, of course, is we were told for many moons that obviously online agency was going to transform and destroy traditional agency. Where does the traditional online agency sit now? Obviously, they're still doing numbers, but nothing like before, aren't they?
Because I think what EXP have probably proven more than anybody else is that faceless online agency isn't something that the public necessarily want. But more than that, the more faceless your business is, the less accountable you are, and actually the less of a fuck you give, because actually the public don't know who you are. So, the service that you provide will likely to be a lesser service. And
I've just seen that one there. That one from Chris is brilliant. Yeah, talking about the conversations. Taxi drivers, what's the classic?
Or hairdressers. Have you got any holidays booked? Are you going anywhere nice? Sophie Watkin, I think that is because it's the only thing they know to ask when you're an estate agent. What else do you ask? Yeah, wow.
What do they ask you to PropTech? Have you worked at all this week?
Best conference ever been was an Undertaker's.
Really? Oh, that's got to be a story. We need to get to the bottom of that one.
It was deadpan. Our very own, the lost son of Kerfuffle, Stuart Feldman.
Hello, Mr. Feldman. Mr. Data, Mr. Prospecting.
Data is for the agents to understand the market, but it's for them and to then use to attract the homeowner, not to send the homeowner the data, P.S. Morning, love you, Daddy.
It's great. He's not getting overtime for that, Stuart, just so you know. That's if this is on your own time.
Stuart, don't burn yourself out, pal. I'm watching you. Exactly. Take those weekends off.
It's true, that, isn't it? It's good. It's another good point.
It is, yeah. Look, I think it's what you do with the data. I think Stuart's right, and I think that Stuart's been working a lot with Dataloft recently, hasn't he? And I think one of the nice things about Dataloft is that they will give you the stats, but they will give you also marketing assets that allow you to convert those stats into something that does resonate with members of the public. And is easy to understand. So I think he's bang on the money there.
Well, the stuff we've been having a long conversation with Rory, haven't we, over Dataloft? And they're genuinely, I mean, they've always been one of those most, I think it's Simon Ledbetter's Voice the Agent, haven't they? Again, one of the best known brands still obviously out there in the marketplace, aren't they?
So this will form part of our fantastic, great self-employed agent debate. But LinkedIn user, whoever they are, agents being sold to by their own every day to go solo. So I think this is a really common theme, and it's one of the things that does irritate me quite intensely about self-employed agents, although I love the model. And what irritates me is that as an agent, I know how important it is to stand up and to talk to your public about how good you are at selling houses or who you are helping to move. You see less and less of those agents doing it, and instead they're marketing to other agents. And what they're saying is, I got up this morning, had an ice bath at 5 a.m. I put on my pink hoodie, I raced out the door, and I took my kids to school, and I was there at 3 o'clock again to pick them up. And I can do that because I'm self-employed. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you are constantly extolling the virtues of the self-employed model and trying to recruit new agents to join up, how does that look to your public, who, let's face it, can see you on LinkedIn? They can see you on Instagram. You're not invisible on Facebook. So, you know, all of those people want to see you selling houses. What they don't want to see you sell is timeshares or this kind of arrangement. So I would argue, remember who pays your bills. And that is the whole point of the debate, isn't it? Because the other side of it is, they often say it's worth more to them to recruit another agent than it is to go out and sell another house.
Hey, Mintzy, I've just thought how we get people, you know, turning in volume next week as well. So if our title for next week is New Model Mass Debate, then I think we're going to get a few accidental viewers. Maybe that will spill over into another industry.
These are the keywords you can't buy on Google. Adrian Napper, if you're worried about employees jumping ship, just make sure fully branded with hoodie. Branded cap in each and every video. Yeah, look, there are ways to do it, and I think there's always been an anxiety, isn't there, in the day and age of we're talking about personal brand. How much, you know what, Whaley? Let's lift the curtain behind Kerfuffle. You and I recently had a chat about you know, whether me building my personal brand, for instance, at what point does that just become Mintzy's forgotten about Kerfuffle and gone off? So we all have members of our team that we really love and want to invest in, but when their personal brand gets to a certain level, are you then worried that they are likely then to defect or to go off and do their own thing? And this really lies at the crux of the whole self-employed debate as well. Yeah.
No, I think it's a really interesting one. I am going to go on your ChatGPT with that story as well. Well, look, we've hit the hour mark, so I think we've got to give Adrian Napper our Podder of the Week award. Well done, Adrian. So look forward to seeing you there.
Absolutely excellent debate. Thank you. I love it when people.
For the rest of the day, Mintzy, I've got a Chinese hot pot.
You going to that new place in Manchester where you cook your own thing?
Your own stuff, yeah, exactly right, yeah.
Well, do take some photos. It's meant to be absolutely phenomenal. I'm not doing any hot pots, but I am about to go to karate to pick up one of my kids from there. I like to go in early before they're finished so that I can embarrass them a little bit. So I need to get on that. Wishing all of you lovely people in property world an excellent week. Go sell some houses. Go make some money.
Oh, honestly, God, you must be so dull to be at our party.
Hey, Have you got any holidays booked, Whaley? See you later, guys.
Everybody, have a great week, you lovely.
Oh, hang on. Whoa. Last minute entry.
Oh,
James White. James White has got a group on Facebook, by the way. If you're not part of it, join it. I love it. He is actually very, very interesting to listen to. He puts very provocative comments in there, but I like him. Anyway, advertising. I'm really quite old-fashioned. You have to look at the lack of comments as a guide to the relevance. Similarly, the correspondents have been the same for years. That's true. There used to be a time where the Property Industry Eye columns would be populated with loads and loads of comments. It'd be quite a toxic environment at some point. And that's kind of petered out now. You've just got the same old faces, haven't you?
I think that's interesting, actually, because I would argue there's probably not as much debate as well, or there's not as much people there. So, like famously with social media, the algorithm helps is being driven by negativity. Is that do you know? Is it that classic thing where we all rail against it and say we hate it, but we actually secretly need it? I don't know.
Watch this space. Right. Have a lovely week, everybody. Take care.
Have a great one.